Is the modern shutdown corner in the NFL similar to the elite wing defender in basketball 20 years ago? And have they become devalued? Have both of those positions become devalued? There's an analogy there that I think is an interesting one and could give some clarity to why the Jets maybe moved on from Sauce Gardner. Obviously, Quinn Williams traded as well. So, in general, the price was right on both of these players. The Jets did not have a fire sale. The Jets did not tear it down to the studs necessarily. At least they didn't do that for the sake of doing it. They didn't say, F it, we're going to trade every single player for whatever we can squeeze out of them. The Jets are 1-7. They wrote down a price next to every single player's name, right? And when they got the price, they made a move. When they didn't get the price, they held firm, right? They had offers for day 2 picks for both Breece Hall and for Jermaine Johnson, but those teams came pretty close, but not quite to where the Jets wanted price-wise. They held them. Quincy Williams is getting benched. I guess hasn't been good this year. He's still the team's best linebacker. He's getting benched. Why didn't they trade him? Probably because I guess there was no market for him to be had. And I guess they'd rather keep him for now, it seems, than give him away for a 7th round pick. So it wasn't a fire sale. It wasn't a tear down. They're just doing it to buy job security. They already had job security, at least for one more year. The owner would not permit them to make these massive changes if they did not already have, at the time, job security in the next year. Now, that doesn't mean they should, or we have to like it, or it's going to work out, but that's pretty much common sense, right? So in a vacuum, both of these trades made dollars and made sense for the Jets. You're getting a Micah Parsons package for Sauce Gardner, Quinn Williams, a 2, and a player. I mean, if you even look at like a player that was moved this offseason, like DK Metcalf goes for a 2 and a 6. I know it's different positions and all that, but DK Metcalf goes for a 2 and a 6, and like Quinn Williams goes for a whole 1st round pick more than him. And Quinnen is older. It's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. Now, an hour later, that is the only question with the Jets in terms of when they were going to trade Quinn Williams. They could have traded Quinn Williams now, or they could have traded him later. Those are the only 2 options, man. He did not want to be a Jet. He requested to be traded 3 times since the beginning of the offseason, allegedly. He's got no more guaranteed money left on his deal after this year. So at the end of the season, Quinnen is holding out, and he is telling you, most likely, I want to be traded, or if you want to pay me the most absurd Jet tax you've ever seen, maybe I will remain employed in the state of New Jersey. That's not a good spot the Jets want to be in. You get a really good package and you make the move. I really don't get it from the Cowboys' perspective, to be honest. Now, Cowboys fans will say, you're a Jet fan, your team sucks, blah, blah, blah. All right, man. I don't get the totality of the Parsons and the Quinn and all those moves together, but whatever. The Jets got a 2nd round pick that is figuring to be probably like a top 45-ish pick next year's draft. And then the year after it, which is supposed to be the greatest draft ever, I guess, it could be a pick in the teens, maybe. I think the Cowboys probably be around a 500 team, next couple of years. That's a great return. It's a great return for a player who is requesting a trade, who's going to be 28 at the end of the year, and who's you're going to have to give a new contract to, right? It's a great move. Now, with Quinnen, he also wasn't having a very good pass rush year. I think part of that is what he was being asked to do because he's having the best run defense season of his career. Quinnen has been arguably the best run defending defensive tackle in the NFL through the first half of the season. And he was dominant as a pass rusher in 2022 and 2023. He was a top 3 defensive tackle in the league over those 2 years. But you look at his last 25 games, he has 8 sacks and 75 pressures in his last 25 games. He had 6 sacks and 72 pressures in 2023 alone. In in 15 and a half games. So just has not had the pass rush juice last year into this year. Just hasn't really been there. Can't turn down 2 premium picks for a hostage. We wish Quinn Williams all the best. Now, Sauce Gardner. He's an excellent corner. He really is. Sauce Gardner is an excellent corner. Let's not do the thing where, and some of you guys thought that before he was traded, to be fair, but let's not completely switch up. Now he was soft. He could never tackle. I like I've defended both of these players, Sauce and Quinn, a lot because I feel like they have been punching bags from some of the most like dead brain WFAN takes imaginable over the last 3 to 4 years, as if like I don't know, as if is Jeffrey Simmons and Dexter Lawrence and Derek Brown, are they the reason why their teams like suck? Are we doing defensive tackle wins now? Or oh, he never gets a sack in the big moment. We're never leading in the big moment. There are no big moments. He's a Jet. There's no big moments. You're on the Jets. What are we talking about, man? Quinn Williams, you put him on a good team. Sauce Gardner on a good team. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. The Colts Sauce Gardner is going to be clamping wide receivers to close games for them. I still wouldn't have given 2 ones for him if I was them and AD Mitchell. But these guys are good players and they'll be good on their new teams. So Sauce has been a tough one because whenever you critique him, you feel like you're linking arms with Joe Beningo, who says that, Brandon Eccles is better than him or whatever. Brandon Eccles is not better. Obviously, the league spoke on that. We got clarity from a third party that Sauce Gardner is really good. And sometimes we're not even allowed to disagree with the Jets. You got to trust Woody Johnson's organization. Well, how about a team that knows what they're doing? Clearly valued him, so he's good. He's a valuable player. We know that. He has prevented wide receivers that he is covering from getting open as well as any corner in the NFL since he's been in the league. And his run defense, he really stepped it up this year. With that said, there's probably one in Pat Surtain, defensive back in the NFL, that I would not trade for the Parsons package. It's probably about it. And I think in the NFL, modern day NFL, corners are like wing defenders in the NBA, right? Because in 2003, right, you see Ron Artest in the thumbnail, when NBA teams had fewer scorers. Like I remember the Knicks teams in the late 90s, they had like 2 guys who could hit a jump shot, right? Even John Starks, like what was John Starks' 3-point percentage for his career? It's probably like 32%. And that was before like the guy Allen Houston, who was like a marksman a little bit later. But those late in the team that went to the finals against the Spurs, they're like 2 guys who could hit a shot outside of 18 feet, right? And the rules, you could hand check 75 feet up and down the court. So these guys like Ron Artest, like Bruce Bowen, when the other team really had one or 2 primary scorers and the rules were conducive to where you could be really physical, those guys were really valuable. Like those wing defenders used to win defensive player of the year more often. But in 2025, you fast forward in basketball, when on any given night, a dude you've never heard of can drop 35, 40 points. The whistle is softer. The shutdown wing defender is not as valuable, right? In basketball now, the hallmark of a really good defense is you just kind of have collectively you're a good team defense. You don't have any massive liabilities on your perimeter. And really it's the elite rim protecting big man, right? That you kind of saw that in towards like the 2010s, like Dwight Howard, like he could anchor your whole entire defense. And in the NFL, I think we've seen a similar devaluing of the shutdown corner. And the rim protecting center is the game wrecking edge rusher, right? Because even in 2009, now I know Sauce is not as good as Darrelle Revis was, so that's not really the point here. But in 2009, you could say a corner is taking away half the field because the tight ends and fullbacks were blocking guys, right? It was there was teams weren't as multiple with personnel. There wasn't as much motion, so it was just Megatron is lining up here. Revis is lining up here. Slap, bump, go. 55 reps a game. But now it's like they're gonna. I'm Justin Jefferson. I'm gonna move him into the slot. I'm gonna put him into the backfield and have him run option routes. I'm gonna do rub routes. I'm gonna use. He's gonna be in an orbit motion over here, and you have to be more accountable for the 5 eligibles. Like teams are just deeper with their pass catchers, and of course the rules. You can't put your hands on dudes the way that you used to as a defensive back, and they don't have the fear of God going over the middle. That if you want to make that catch, it might cost you your freaking life. Like it used to, like it did not that long ago. Remember, even like the ESPN segment jacked up, like in the early 2000s, where they would celebrate guys getting CTE on national television. They don't do that anymore, right? They don't do it anymore. But so it's a little bit of a different game. Even in the last 15 or so years, it's a different game. So now that one kind of shutdown corner is devalued, and as a defense, it's more about not having any weak links and having a psycho pass rush. It's really now. I'm not saying corner means nothing. Like bad corners, really bad corners will get you beat as quickly as anything in the NFL. Right past quarterback and offensive tackle, you have terrible corners, you cannot survive. So that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, as long as you're solid and you have no weak spots, that's more where you want to be. And this is something that I made this exact analogy, ironically, when before the Jets draft. Now, I'm not saying that to say I'm Nostradamus, because my conclusion was I preferred the Jets take Kayvon Thibodeau and Garrett Wilson instead of Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. Now, obviously, that age to be incorrect, because Sauce is way better than Kayvon Thibodeau, just as a football player. But that was my reasoning. You go with the edge, all things being equal. They weren't equal, so it's a moot point. I'm just pointing that out to say that I'm not making this up because the Jets traded Sauce. It is something, if you've been in the live streams, even when they were coming down to paying him $30 million with Garrett, I'm like, hell yes. With Sauce, I'm like, yeah. But it's not even the flaws of, it's not so, he can't tackle, he doesn't get picks. It's not even about that, man. It's just the value of corner. It's such a high volatility position. Same thing with Stingley. Dude, if I'm the Houston Texans and someone calls me 2 1s and a player I like, I would send away Stingley and get that $30 million off the books, because Stingley's been bad for 10 games. He's not going to get his 10 picks again this year. It's such a high volatility position that has become devalued. It's become harder to play. It's become harder to make an impact. And you kind of have to be like, there's just no margin for error in your games, right? Because Sauce, he was a weaker tackler, been better this year, but overall, he struggled to tackle and he struggled to take the ball away. Now, part of that is he doesn't get targeted. He allows 1.6 catches a game. How many picks are you going to get doing that? But we also saw the opportunities he did have. He just didn't really have good hands. He dropped a couple of picks. Even thinking back to 2023, he dropped a gimme pick in the end zone. And he dropped an easy pick 6 in the breadbasket, the Dak Prescott. Right. Well, other positions, you can be significantly flawed, and who cares? Micah Parsons is not the best run defender. Yes, he has splash plays against the run because he's a freak, but he's not a great down in and down out run defender, and nobody cares. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. Nobody cares. DeBrickashaw Ferguson, was he a road grader in the run? Not really. He played every single Sunday for a decade straight and kept your quarterback clean. Nobody cares. Even Garrett. Now, Garrett, so far this year, has really polished up a lot of his weaknesses, where he's become just a damn good, well-rounded receiver. But previous to that, in 2023, Garrett had 8 drops and 3 fumbles in 2023, and a poor contested catch rate and some ball security issues. But none of us batted an eye when they gave him the extension, because it's the value is still there. Even if you're a flawed player at quarterback, like Jared Goff can't run, right? If you're a flawed player at quarterback, at left tackle, at edge, at wide receiver, those are the spots where you can still be ridiculously paid, and it's worth it, even if you're a flawed player. Jamar Chase has led the league and drops 2 of his seasons in the NFL. No one cares. But at corner, you got you almost can't have like one major weakness in your game at corner, like Sauce did with the tackling, and be a $30 million a year um player that if someone is willing to at least take that money off your hands and give you 2 damn picks and a receiver you like, you can't turn that down. That's kind of my philosophy on the and that's not just specific to Sauce, man. I think Stingley, whatever, Deron Bland, I like any of these guys, man. Any of these defensive backs. I think 2 ones and a player you like. I don't know if there's a defensive back I'm turning that down for besides maybe Sertan, right? But he'll do well. He will definitely do well. In Indy, he looks clean in the blue. It's a good look for Sauce. Now, with Jermaine Johnson and Brees Hall not being traded. So with Jermaine, extend him at the end of this year, right? Make him a captain because I think that's what you have to do to justify it with both of them. It's just the inverse of Quinnen and Sauce. They didn't get their price, so fine, right? Oh, you have to hit on the picks or it means nothing. Isn't that like the dumbest thing ever? Like, no shit. No shit. But that's like either the price makes sense or it doesn't. It's like if you're selling your car, it's like you sell your car and you're like, oh, I don't know, I got a 2020 Toyota Tundra before they killed it. But isn't it a shame? Before they just killed the Tundra and the Tacoma. It's really heartbreaking. But the last good one, right? He got one of those. Somebody wants to peel off, give you 50 grand for it. All right, you take it. Well, hold on. I don't know if that's a fair price. Now I need to see an itemization of how every single dollar is spent over the next 3 to 4 years to see if it was a good price. No, man, 50 grand is a good price for the truck. That's it. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. Because think about the inverse of that logic. Let's say, would you trade Armand Membu for a 4th and 5th round pick? No, bad trade. Well, what if you get Amon-Ra St. Brown and Puka Nacua? And like, it would be a dumb trade if you gave away Armand Membu for 4 and a 5. So either the price is right or it's not, and then the price is right. But what the hell are we talking about? Oh yeah, Brees Hall and Jermaine. As long as they are both here, like Brees should be here this year and 2 more years. Because if he's only here for the rest of this year or for 1 more year, then you should have just taken a 4th round pick, right? But if he's going to be here for at least two more years or 3 more years, then fine. He helps your rookie quarterback. He's still really good. He's your second best offensive weapon on a team that's not really in the business of getting rid of weapons. Fine. Jermaine, same thing. Extend him if he was only here for 1 more year, and you let him walk for a comp pick that would not be worth turning down a 2nd round pick. You know, that's really it. It's that simple with those two. For me. Now I am just to be honest, like with Jermaine, he did tear his Achilles. Like that, I know that is a thing that happened. And unfortunately, we are banking on him kind of being an outlier recovery because if you look at the history of that specific injury at that position, it's brutal. Now, obviously, modern medicine's been better. He was still pretty young. No one's going to outwork him. He had a full year of recovery. So there's some things you like that maybe he can be an outlier, but Achilles at that spot, not kind in NFL history. So that's just kind of a dose of reality there. But if he's going to be at least what I thought Jermaine was on track to be at the end of the 2023 season, at the end of his 2nd year, right? Because he tore his Achilles, the 2nd game of 2024. And I'm looking at him like, all right, you are 8 sack, 55, 60 pressure a year edge who's a good run defender who like chase down screen passes, bat down balls, do some football player stuff that maybe like doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, and obviously be everything you could want in a leader and all that. If he's still that player gets $25 million a year in this league, that player is more valuable in a 2nd round pick. So if he's still that, it's a no brainer to turn. Then you need a 1 for that kind of player if he's still that. And I think something that was noteworthy with these two trades is like, and we'll see what happens, but maybe we're getting a regime that values the offensive side of the damn ball, right? Because Brees is a guy that they held on to. Garrett, untouchable. And they trade their two best defensive players. And three of their first four picks this past year, including their first two picks, were on offense. And I'm hoping that we could finally get a regime that just tries to put an embarrassment of riches around their quarterback and scores points, because you could say defense wins championships. And yes, every year the team that wins the Super Bowl is going to have a good defense in that year. Of course, besides like a couple outliers, I'm sure we could point to. But if you could pick one side of the ball, it's going to have you being a contender year in and year out. Obviously, it's offense, and that's tethered to your quarterback and your offensive coaching, right? Because those are the two things that are going to weather the volatility of your talent, of your injuries, of certain right. That's why defenses are more volatile. You could see we've seen Jets teams. We've seen the Jets in the last 5 years go from a bottom 3 defense to a top 5 defense for like 2 years to like a below average defense, and now back to like a bottom 3 defense, right? With a lot of the same players. That is not happening to like Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. It's not happening. They will not let that happen, right? It's not happening to like the Lions, their offensive staff, and Jared Goff and all their talent. It's just not happening, right? And the Lions had the 22nd defense and DVOA and the 7th defense, but their offense is always good. The Bills have had some volatility with their defense. Their offense is always good. So that's the spot. That's the side of the ball where it's going to have you consistently in the playoffs. And then things have to line up for you correctly to have a defense and specials all together, of course, to win a championship, of course. But the offensive side of the ball is just where it's at. It's just where it's at. And we know that because it hasn't been where it's at with us, man. So that was the takeaway that I had as well. Quincy Williams still being a Jet wasn't on my bingo card. I don't even know. He's being benched, I guess. He's still the team's best linebacker. Like anyone who plays linebacker or safety for the New York Jets is replaceable. Any of them. I don't really. I mean, I don't really care, man. I don't care. Like Quincy, go join your brother in Dallas. Love you, man. You guys go have fun. Pay no state income tax. You can go from Woody Johnson to Jerry Jones, who Jerry is still better than Woody. At least his teams have made the playoffs recently. Fine. Sherwood, I would still try and see if you could get rid of some of that money off to someone else. Maybe one of the teams that was interested in signing him in the previous season. And I would go into the night with Kiko Malago and Kobe King. I do not care who plays middle linebacker, off-ball backer for the Jets the rest of this year, and honestly, even next year. I don't care. You can call up David Harris. You can call up Kamala Harris. It doesn't matter to me, dude. That spot should not have significant money tied up to it. I just can't. You can't. The linebacker and safety play in this year has been so god awful. Or maybe it's the coaching. Then you got to get rid of Steve Wilkes. You can't tell me Quincy and Sherwood need to be back to next to each other, highly paid, and Steve Wilkes is coaching them. It's crazy because they've been bad. The linebacker play has been dreadful. I think the corner play has actually been pretty decent. I think the defensive interior play has actually been pretty decent. Safety, linebacker, and edge have been disgraceful this year. So that's a spot where, dude, put a 5th round, a street free agent veteran, because you can finish. The Jets are 30th in DVOA this year. So be 30th in DVOA cheaper. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say about the middle of that defense, man. I don't care. I'm not married to any of them. Malachi Moore, Kiko Malago are staying because they're on rookie deals. Everyone else, if you're making more than minimum wage, you can go. That's how I feel about it, man. So I don't know what's up with Quincy. I guess he's benched. Now, for what it's worth, Arian Smith, A.D. Mitchell, and John Metzier all in the 90th to 99th percentile in separation grade versus man coverage. So we have 3 cardio burners. Now again, let's be honest, they could not be long for this league, like especially Mechie and Smith. Like if you watch Aaron Smith and I told you he was like a UDFA out there, you would not be shocked. It just is what it is. Mechie is trying to hang around in the league. But AD Mitchell, that there's real talent there. 80 Mitchell, I think there's a chance he could be a wide receiver two in this league. They just don't make a ton of dudes who have his length, have his athleticism, and at least a little bit. Now it's only a few clips. It's 2.5 minutes long of all of his plays in the NFL, right? But he has shown the ability of tracking the ball deep, and he has a gear that a lot of guys don't have. And he's fluid for a guy with that frame. So maybe he's Stephen Hill, but maybe he's like Walmart AJ Green. Like that there's something there with AD Mitchell. So that's why I'm looking at that wide receiver room. I'm like, now this is optimistic, so it's just this would be a positive but realistic outcome. If AD Mitchell, Arian Smith, and John Mechie in any order are your wide receivers 3, 4, and 5 next year. Right? And that's what the next 9 games are going to show us. Can they be your wide receivers 3, 4, and 5? And Justin Fields, you're going to have to throw the ball past 10 yards, dude, because we got to find out. And I like those throws, man. And Muji's already gotten some positive returns with Briggs, who can play, with Brownlee, who can play. With Harrison Phillips, even though he was a vet, he can play. Like his trades have been good. His trades have been good. Mazzie Smith, I mean, is really bad. I don't have anything to add on him. But the receivers, I'm excited to watch those guys. Like if there's reasons to turn on Jets games the next 8 weeks, I think seeing if we have anything in those wide receivers we added in a pass catching unit that desperately needs help. Like that's from a personnel perspective, that's what I'm watching. In addition to now AZ Thomas, Malachi Moore, right? Obviously Membu and Taylor, but to me they've kind of checked off. It's like, all right, we know we're working with something with Membu and Taylor. They're going to be starters for us for a while. We kind of know that. AZ Thomas, Malachi Moore, Kiko, Mechie, AD Mitchell, Arian Smith. Those are the guys I'm kind of intrigued to see how their tryout here goes down the stretch. Staying firm on Hall, Quincy sets a nice precedent. Well, yeah, you just kind of have to stick to your guns. Your price is your price. Now, Quincy, I honestly would have traded for almost any amount of draft capital just because I highly doubt he's going to be back next year, and I really don't know if he's going to get paid enough to factor into any sort of comp pick formula. But with JJ and Brees, I'm totally fine with them keeping. Now with Quincy, who cares? Because it probably would have been like a conditional 6th-round pick. It's not the end of the world. But I think Quincy was a player that maybe you just take whatever you can get, right? But beyond that, like you're not just taking whatever you can get for Brees Hall or for Jermaine Johnson. You don't want teams to think anytime they got on the phone with the Jets, it's it's prison rules. Do we need a top 3 corner to make the playoffs? I don't know what we need to make the playoffs, man. I don't know, man. We need a lot, I guess. A quarterback and coaching gets you about halfway there. Quarterback coaching and offensive line probably gets you 75% of the way, right? What are your thoughts on waiting until 2027 to draft your rookie QB? I've heard that idea floated around. Hey, man, I think if the Jets do have a top 3 pick in this draft, Mendoza, Moore, and Ty Simpson, and this isn't like off of crazy all 22 studying. It's really hard to get college all 22 actually. NFL is easy. So I have watched zero film on these quarterbacks, just watching college football on Sundays, obviously consuming the early draft content, guys like Joe Blewett and Dom C, guys' opinions I value. Mendoza, Ty Simpson, and Dante Moore, I think, are three players that, although aren't otherworldly, you could justify taking if you have a high pick and seeing if it works out. But if you're the Jets and you end up with, I don't know, they could end up with maybe the fifth pick and maybe quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, because even if a team isn't taking one, maybe they trade out, right? If the Titans have the first pick, they're probably not picking first if they want to keep Cam Ward. So if you have the fifth pick and the top three quarterbacks are gone, then you just go into the next year, I guess. It would suck. It would be unfortunate just because it'd require a bit more patience. But objectively speaking, if they don't have a first round grade on the fourth quarterback off the board, you can't do it, because then everything else you've done was for nothing. If you miss on that pick because you felt like you had to do it, then everything else is for nothing. So yeah, you can't write it off. You can't write it off, right? Pat says out of the top five, out of the top five number one picks, I say long as we get our great quarterback and all-star and starter at the other two. Pat, I don't know if it's me or you, brother. I don't know what the heck you're talking about, man. That comment, but yes, quarterback is definitely very important. I'll agree there. Jay-Z has a pushback on the waiting to take a quarterback until 2027. All right. Yeah, but yeah, that's obviously true. Is you hope no matter where the Jets finish this year in the draft order, you hope that they finish lower in the draft the following year. Right. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know, man. That's why I kind of want them to lose games. I'm sorry. I kind I and my deal on that is I'm not gonna really have a lot of post game rants this year. Now, maybe if they do something incredibly stupid, like we could laugh about it or be like, "Oh man, are these guys? I don't know about these guys." But like, if the Jets lose to the Browns, man, whatever that's going to be, like 16-13, I'm just not going to come on here like screaming about it. I don't know. Because they're going to be back here next year. So now with Muji and with Glenn, like for better or worse, it's just what it is. They're going to get next year. They're going to get 4 high picks at least next year. One of them is probably going to be a quarterback. And all we can do is see how that quarterback pick, most likely how that quarterback pick and the other picks around him all pan out into next year. That's all we can do. And anything in between that of like one and done or whatever, or like, do we trust these guys? Like, it's kind of hot air at this point because we just got to wait and see. Now, if they F up next year and they suck horribly again, then okay, then you're gone and the new people take over and have 3 first round picks. All right. This is just kind of the way I'm seeing it. And if they mess up their quarterback pick so bad that they're probably going to suck again, and the new people will have like a top 3 pick to take a new quarterback and then 2 other first round picks. So that's the way I'm seeing this. Now, obviously, Glenn and Muji have pitched to Woody Johnson like some sort of 3-year plan, but if they go 1-16 this year and like 2-15 next year, if you go 3-31, you got to go. All right, but we're not there yet. So we will see how it goes. We have to see how it plays out. I hate that phrase, but it applies to many things. It does apply to many things. Can we just see how it plays out, man? Ah, fine. We'll see how it plays out. That's all we can do. Give Sherwood one more year. Yeah, I mean, you're not. I mean, it's not going to get much for him, and you have to eat a lot of his money. I'm just saying, if there was a team willing, like how the Niners took Bryce Huff from the Eagles, who was useless in their scheme. If Sherwood looks useless in this scheme, um, the next 9 games, and a team is willing to take his money off your hands, I think you got to consider it, right? Because it's been what, 8 games? Okay, that's not a massive sample size. It's not nothing in the NFL. It's not nothing. Because 8 games of Armand Membu, he can play. It's right. It's not nothing. We know that on the positive end. But if Sherwood is looking like this for the whole year, I think you gotta, you know, entertain some options there, right? Cowboys wanted Quincy too. Yeah, that would have been an interesting package there. He's like, we traded your brother, and now you're benched. Yeah, all right, man. Maybe Quincy got benched because Quincy might mess up the tank. Like he's the kind of guy, he might force a fumble. We can't have that. We cannot have that. You kind of got to lose to Cleveland. I don't know, guys. Is that crazy? Like you kind of got to lose some of these games, man. I don't know what to say. I really don't. I really don't, man. Should you trade for Cam Ward? No, my gut reaction is no. Is that no reclamation project? Just take your own QB. And that is, I have not watched a single Titans game from start to finish this year, but just on precedent, just on like principle of the matter, I would not want to do a reclamation project. If you don't have to, just take your own quarterback. AD Mitchell looks the part. Yeah, definitely. Boom. You don't want to watch Lazard and Reynolds? No, I'm good there, man. I'm good. Yeah, I liked AD Mitchell coming out of the draft too. It's such a bummer that Corley didn't work out, and a lot of it was he found out after the fact, like just personality stuff. Like he wanted $1 million or whatever it was for Devontae Adams to give him number 17. Like that's not. It's a gesture. Devontae Adams is going to Hall of Fame, dude. He was being nice and saying he was going to give you 20 grand for the jersey. Like it's not really a question. Insane. And he didn't want to play special teams. It's like, dude, you're a 3rd-round rookie. That's a bummer because you look at, I mean, guys like Troy Franklin and I don't know, man. There's some dudes who are doing stuff who were taken after him. So that was upsetting. And I think that's part of the Arian Smith when that pick came into as Jet fans because we're like, dude, can you just take a normal mid-round receiver? Like, can you just take like A.O. Manor who can just like run a route and catch a pass and get like 525 yards? Right. Now we'll see with Smith. We'll see. But man, this team like and mid-round pass catchers has been so brutal. It's been so tough, man. They cannot find value there. It's like Garrett Wilson. That's it. And they had to take a top 10 pick on him. Membu could be a Pro Bowler this year. Yeah, I think he should get Offensive Rookie of the Year consideration. I'm sure he won't win it because that goes to people who score touchdowns, but he should be considered. Yeah, we do need more guys that force turnovers. Like turnovers has just not been in the DNA of a Jets defense for so long. Um, I was watching the Steelers Colts game, and I've only watched 3 Steelers games this year. I watched when they played the Jets, and the Jets put up 30 points on them. I watched when they played the Bengals, and the Joe Flacco had his way with them. And I'm watching them against the Colts, and I'm like, the Colts are kind of moving the ball, like getting first downs, but the Steelers just force turnovers. It's not like that's just what they do, man. They force it was like 6 turnovers. Every other possession, it was like Daniel Jones was like turnover. And it's just offenses are too good. You can't just line up and stop people like on 3 downs. And with now how often people go for it on 4th down, now that kickers can make it from 70 freaking yards, now that you start at the 36-yard line, you have to take the ball away. You have to take the ball. The Bears defense isn't even good, but they're 5-3 because they lead the league in takeaways. How would you feel if the Jets did the Bears route when they traded their pick for the 2 firsts? The pick. Well, see, that was a little bit different because when the Bears made that trade, they were still trying to see if Justin Fields could be the guy. Right? So that's why it's a little bit different. I think if the Bears didn't have a young quarterback they already drafted, I don't think they would have passed on QB that year. I don't even remember who was in that class, but you can draft more than 1 QB. Yeah, let's just draft let's just draft multiple QBs. I'm waiting for the first team to do that, man. Just you got 2 first round picks. Take 2 QBs, have them battle it out, and then you can trade the loser of the competition for 70 cents on the dollar the next year. Ty Simpson won't be coming out unless Bama wins the Natty. Well, I don't know, man. If you're him, like he's on a heater. If you're him and you have the potential to be the number 1 overall pick, why not? Why not? Why not come out? Like, well, I don't know what's the reasoning. Quincy is very undisciplined this year. Yeah, he's very, very hot and cold. We're beating the Browns. It's gonna be. They could like the Jets have a better quarterback in this game, no doubt about that, and they still have a more talented offense than the Browns, including offensive line and quarterbacks. So the Browns have an awesome defense though. So I think points are going to be hard to come by in general. Yeah, Corley thought he was the shit, man. I did not know that about him. Because he was like the Yak King. So you're thinking like he's kind of like a tough, gritty receiver, like kind of built like a running back. Corley was a diva, which is like he was a high enough pick that you got to meet with this guy multiple times. Like how that doesn't come across in meetings is just poor scouting. It's just I don't know. Really, that you wouldn't be able to pick up on that in meeting with him. That he's the kind of guy that's going to say, "F you, I don't want to play special teams." And Devontae Adams, you got to give me $1 million for the number 17. I think there may have been signs. Come on. Muji's with the halfway point. Well, it's Muji and AG, right? Um, because there's not really as much of a dichotomy with GM and coach like there was with Salah and Douglas. It's all Aaron Glenn, for better or worse. Like the Jets are not trading their two best defensive players without Aaron Glenn's approval, right? And Muji is facilitating that, right? I'm not saying I don't know, he's maybe like more of a head, like he's more of like the director of pro personnel, right? It's kind of like an offensive coordinator when the head coach calls the plays. Like Mike LaFleur is the offensive coordinator for the Rams, or like when Bieniemy was, or who is it now? Nagy in Kansas City. I'm not saying that they do nothing, but they're not really the offensive coordinator. And I don't think Darren Muji is really the GM, right? Which is why they pivoted from Newmark to Muji after they hired Glenn. They hired the coach first. But anyway, what the hell? But that was unnecessary because I understood your question. I get what you're asking. I get what you're asking. So, um, I think that the from a personnel perspective, I think the misses were. I still think you don't know what the other deals were, but I think Fields didn't really need to be a 2-year deal. And even if he went a little bit richer on the 1-year deal, to have him have a big debt, a dead cap hit if he's cut, and he has got a void year. Okay, but I get going after Fields. Could have been a 1-year deal. Sherwood seems like just a miss in terms of how a player would fit in your system. And Tyler Barron seems like a waste of 2 fifth-round picks. Besides that, there's not really much else I can complain about. And again, I don't. Oh my gosh, we didn't have wide receiver 2. We didn't have edge. To me, that wasn't. I'm not going to kill them for that in year 1. If it's year 3 and you don't have a second freaking receiver, that's a problem. But to me, this offseason was just what are the moves they make? Do those moves work? That's it. If they don't get to everything, I don't. What it is, what it is. You didn't get a second tight end, a third edge. Like it is what it is. They weren't going to fix all that. So the moves that you did make, the investments that you did make, do those work or not? That's my criteria for grading them. Not looking at the roster. This roster is still 80% Joe Douglas and like 1% Mike McCagnon, although now 0, right? Was Quinn in the last McCagnon guy? I think so. So you see how that trickle is, like how long it takes for it to really become your team, which is why, the last season I was a Joe Douglas hater. I'm like, bro, I didn't critique the guy for 3 years. I didn't say a word about the guy for 3 years. I was glazing him after the 2022 draft class. I thought we were ascending to the heavens. It didn't work out, but we'll see, man. So and then the trades have been good. Like Membu's good, Mason Taylor's good. I still think day 3, it just seemed like consensus was, I don't know, that consensus and the mock draft bros. I don't know. It's like Alakai Manor is right there. Elijah Roberts is right there. There were some ones where it's like, kind of seemed pretty obvious, maybe going a different spot. But I would say mostly positive. I'm like a B for Moogs. And then you include these deals, like maybe even higher than a B, because holy shit, man. Who thought we were getting the Parsons package for Sauce? Like, even though I told you he was traded, if you told me Sauce was traded to the Colts, guess the compensation, I would have said, like, the Jets traded Sauce and a 6th for a 1 and a 4. Something like that. 2 1s and AD Mitchell. Yeah, that's crazy. Quinnen, I would have said maybe you got 1 first-round pick. And you got a whole second-round pick in addition to that. Yeah, the tank. There are some bad teams, man. I don't know. I think the Saints are still worse than the Jets. I don't know, and I think the Titans are too. But so the Jets might be the third worst team. Even like I don't know. And the Dolphins. The Jets could. I think the Jets' ceiling this year is they could win 3 more games at most, and that would just it would just suck. It's it sounds so terrible to say, but it would just be so pointless to win 3 more games instead of 0 more games. It really would. Unless like one of those wins is like Thursday night against the New England Patriots. Like, wow, you like AG out coaches Mike Vrabel. Okay, you're giving us something, right? And AD Mitchell and like these young players all make crazy plays. All right, I'll be excited the following day. But if you are down in the pits of hell with Tyler Shook and you beat the Saints like 9-6 on a 67-yard field goal from Nick Folk, like you don't gotta do that. You really don't. You really, really don't, man. What are the chances the Saints keep Rattler? Well, I think they should because he seems like he could be a backup. And he's making no money, right? It should have kept Rodgers. Well, I think after these moves, it's like, well, now there's definitely was no point to that. Like, even if you wanted to go back and rehash it in the offseason, I don't think you're crazy. Obviously, Rodgers is still better than Fields. But if he could bring over those 6 turnovers that the Steelers defense had against the Colts, if he could bring those with him, uh, then absolutely, man. Then maybe we could. I don't know. What are we like? What are we? Maybe 2-6 with Rodgers. I don't know. And that math never works for the Jets. So many times I've thought that I'm like, because we did it with Zach. I'm like, there's no way we can be worse with Rodgers and Zach. I'm like, there's no mathematical way. And yet, it somehow happened because the Jets. Aren't we seeing if Justin Fields could be the guy? Um, who's we? I am not on that journey with you, brother, but if you are, and I can't speak for the coaches to what extent they think that is possible. I'm sure when they signed him, they thought it was greater than 0, right? That's part of the reason why you signed him. I'm I don't know, man. I think Justin Fields is like a stopgap kind of QB. I don't think he is the guy. Now, it doesn't mean he's not worth. Here's the thing: can Justin Fields play at a level down the back end of this season? And they didn't trade away all their best players on offense. They still have an offensive line. You still got Garrett. You still got Brees Hall. You still got Mason Taylor. And all of a sudden, you got like AD Mitchell and John Mechie to whatever tinker around with. Can Fields play at a level in which it warrants keeping him here next year instead of cutting him and saving $10 million? Because that'd be great. Because what you don't want to do is have to cut Fields, sign Brissett, and you're paying Fields $10 million not to be here, and you're paying Brissett $12 million, and you're still got like a Rodgers dead year, and you're drafted a rookie and you all of a sudden you got $80 million tied up to QB, and you don't even really. It's not like you have like Lamar or Josh Allen, right? So you're paying like 4 different QBs to start a mixture of like Jacoby Brissett and a rookie. That would be kind of dumb. So I'm hoping Fields could play at a level that gives the Jets options, or maybe he plays at a level to where someone wants to trade for him. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, but that's not. I mean, a 3rd-round QB and a 5th-round QB. That's not what I'm saying. I want to see like a real, a team has like the 3rd pick and the 10th pick, and they say QB, duke it out. That's what I want to see. Yeah, yeah. The Colts. Well, especially next year, like The Colts, I think, will still definitely their pick is going to be in the 20s because they're going to win their division. I would still say. I would still say that. I don't think it's going to be 32 or 31 or 30 or 29. And the following year, next year, the Colts could be 8 and 9, and it could be the 16th pick in the draft. And the thing about dealing like in future first, like you don't wish it. You don't wish it, but like when, like QB injuries happen, like Dak missed a stretch of time and they won 6 games with Cooper Rush, and that was like they had the 10th pick. We saw it with Russell Wilson when the Jets did the Jamal Adams trade, and we thought they were going to be really good, and they had the 10th pick. Um, and that's also why the Jets, when we were trading for Aaron Rodgers, the Packers were willing to do it for a single first round pick, and the Jets were like, "No, we'll give you multiple um second round picks and the protection like in there, whatever." Because then Rodgers gets injured, and now it's like, holy shit, that wasn't the 26th pick you thought it was. It was now like, what did it end up being? The 11th pick, right? We took Olu. Yeah. And then with the Colts, it's like 8 games a day. Like, and Shane Steichen, it's a heat check, man, because I think Shane Steichen is a really good coach. And obviously they've built that roster well, and Jones has played well, and they're rolling. They're rolling. So good for them. Go for it. But man, not having a first round pick in the next 2 years and just saying Daniel, like, is Daniel Jones just the guy now for the next 3 seasons? I I mean, we'll see. I don't know about that. Will Brees mail it in? Not yet. He's got to wait till that ink dries, baby. He's got. It's still a contract year for Brees Hall. We'll find out what Brees Hall is made of after he gets that signing bonus. Fields has 2 really good games this year. Yeah, he has 2 games where it's like, holy crap, he's the guy. He's had 3 games where he had less than 50 yards passing, and it's like, this guy is not an NFL player. And then he's had some games in the middle. So where does that all shake out? Am I happy we don't have to pay a corner 30 million? Um, so if it's just pay Sauce 30 million or have Sauce not be on our team at all, I think pay Sauce 30 million, but pay Sauce 30 million or get the 30 million off the books and first round pick, first round pick, 80 Mitchell, door B, door B on that one any day of the week. Is Muji working on competition? Oh, of course. Like Aaron Glenn isn't on the phone hammering out the fine details of the trade. He's doing that work. Aaron Glenn isn't scouting every single player. Like Aaron Glenn isn't hiring an entire staff. So like Muji's I don't mean to say Muji is doing nothing, but Muji gets that final offer and he says, "Hey, coach, are we good?" And AG says, "We're good." I think. On decisions as big as this, I think yes. Whereas with JD and Salah, JD went in the phone in there with Rex Hogan and like whatever Brick Johnson, and then they came out and Salah was like, "What'd we do?" Like he got to find out like with the rest of us, right? Obviously, a little bit of an exaggeration there, but you get what I'm saying. New Saints were tanking when they, yeah. I mean, they're just so terrible. They're probably the worst roster in the league. Them and the Titans. Miles Garrett is going to have 5 sacks a quarter. Um, well, it'll be a good test for the Jets' young tackles, that's for sure. I think they're gonna get quite a bit of help. I don't think, Angstrom is gonna leave him out to dry. Oh, gotcha. Oh, I love Brissett. I love Brissett. He's a pro, but obviously you'd want that role to just to be Fields if you could have him already under contract and not have to do the double the money. No skills, appreciate it, man. Wait till 27 draft a QB? Question mark. Sure, the next iPhone will always be better, but making calls with these two yogurt cans and strings suck pretty bad too. Um, I'll say this: like, if the Jets have a top 3 pick, I hope they come away with a quarterback. Now, if they don't, I'm not going to throw a fit because I know that Dante Moore is the next whatever. Now, also, and also Dante Moore, his hit again. I don't like quarterbacks who are smaller than me. It's a good rule of thumb because I'm like a regular size guy. So Kyler Murray, no. Bryce Young. Again, I think this is what my 2 podcasts ago with Dylan Terman. I said, if I feel like I could get a bucket on you it's the driveway basketball. If I could take you down on the block and hit you with a drop step and get a bucket on you, you cannot be the quarterback of the Jets. I could get a bucket on Bryce Young. I could get him in a nice spot. I could hit a little fadeaway on Bryce Young. Mendoza? Nah, Mendoza's swatting that. Mendoza is swatting that into the second row. So is Ty Simpson. So, but with Dante Moore, he that Jaden Daniels tiny ass frame scares me with him. Because even the quarterbacks who are shorter and have played a while in the league, like Russ, like Breeze, even like and Kyler is pretty stout. Like Kyler is just an elite athlete. He could have been a professional baseball player, whatever. But there aren't like what is Dante Moore's height and weight? He seems so maybe am I exaggerating how small he is? Maybe I'm making this up. He seems small to me. Oh, he's 6'3". Okay, so he's way taller than I thought. 206. All right, that's not that small. He seems he just seems kind of frail to me, but I guess maybe I'm exaggerating. But Jaden Daniels is listed at 6'4", 210. I don't know, man. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I think he's got some fishing weights in his pockets there. I don't know if he's 205. But yeah, man. Anyway, if they have a top 3 pick, I hope they come away with a quarterback. I hope because then that starts the hopium begins. You have a rookie QB, the hopium begins. Even the Giants, their team is terrible. Their coach and GM should definitely be fired. They have a bunch of roster holes, but their fans, it's reasonable to be excited about Jackson Dart, right? Is he really good? I don't know. He seems like I don't know. Is he? You tell me. But he's running around out there. He's making some plays, and they're like excited. So it'd kind of be nice to have that, right? To be excited. Because if you got a rookie QB, even if you're not winning games, even if you're like, if you have a rookie QB who's showing potential, that in and of itself is an exciting season. And I don't want to wait another entire year to have an exciting season, but if the guy ain't the guy, what can you do? Shadur? Oh yeah, Shadur's gonna come in and like Baker did and beat us, right? And then we'll say we should have drafted him. That's how it goes. No, Solid didn't want Michael Ford gone. That was straight from Woody Johnson. Dart is amazing. Is he okay? I've only watched the only Giants game I watched was on Thursday night versus the Eagles, and he was actually very impressive in that game, but I haven't seen much Dart beyond that. Generation can't even design plays for a quarterback that runs. Well, there's been stretches of the season where they have not done that enough of Fields. I would agree with that. I think saying he can't do it is a bit of an exaggeration. Dart is a better Will Levis. He kind of reminds me of a better Zach Wilson, to be honest. I think they went to the same I think they grew up in the same town too. Yeah, you could sell me on that too, man. But I'll leave it there. Appreciate you guys hanging out. If you want the thumbs up on your way out, that'd be cool. Go